On your Wednesday, Christmas Eve episode of Locked On Raptors, you got something that's ailing you? Bum knee, sore back, an offense that can't score any points? Just put some heat on it.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Wednesday, December the 24th. It's Christmas Eve, ho, 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 etc., etc. And I am your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Raptors now for 12 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server, where everyone is merry today after a nice victory over the Miami Heat last night. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And we are here on Christmas Eve, final episode of the week before we take a couple of days off for the holidays, talking about a Toronto Raptors 112-91 win over the Miami Heat. Their second road win over the Heat in 8 days. You love to see it. We will get into the bench kind of telling on itself. There are actually good, helpful players here, including one Collin Murray-Boyles. My God, a really impressive game from him. Maybe his best game as an NBA player so far. We got the good, the bad, the all coming up, as we always do after a game as well. But let's just sit in it for a second off the top here and just marvel at the salve that the Miami Heat seem to be. Look, I don't like watching Toronto Raptors Miami Heat basketball games. They're terrible. They're awful. It's a crime against the sport more often than not. And this game very much felt like it was going to follow the script of every single game the Raptors and Heat have played over the last 5, 10, 15 years, where it's just like really nasty, knock it down, drag them out hoops, where it's just basically a battle of dueling 15-2 runs until one team dies of attrition, until last 15-2 run wins and the clock runs out. And that very much was the way this game started last night. It was a 16-3 run for the Raptors to start this game. The Heat get back into it, I think pulled to 18-16. But I think credit to the Raptors. After that, they kind of just felt like the better team throughout this game. Yes, there were moments where the offense got gummy and whatnot. But overall, I mean, you have to be pretty happy with winning every quarter, scoring 30+ in 3 of the quarters after a really nasty start in the first quarter where they scored just 21 points and their threes were just not falling. They ended up rallying in this game after missing 10 straight threes early on to go 14 of 38 from deep. Reasonable volume, good accuracy. You like to see that too. And yeah, just like I don't know what it is about this Heat team that keeps on bringing out the best of the Raptors, or at least a better version of the Raptors than we've seen over the last little while here, but it's a thing. And I think you have to feel pretty comforted by the fact that if nothing else, the Raptors are clearly better than this team. Yes, I know no Tyler Hero. Some of their best work this season has come without Tyler Hero, though. I'm not sure that really is a huge factor in them not looking very good. The Heat just might not be all that good as a team. Their offense maybe has been kind of figured out. Their sort of gimmicky isolation ball thing. Norm Powell is coming back to earth just a tiny little bit. Davion Mitchell's coming back to earth just a tiny little bit. But I do think the Raptors deserve a lot of credit for the way they sort of impressed themselves on this game too. And I think the main guy to really look at here, obviously, and this is the case when most of the Raptors wins, it's Scottie Barnes. This was one of his most complete games of the season. 27 points, 8 boards, 4 assists, plus 21, 10 of 14 shooting. And what impressed me with Scottie in this game, just such a nice bounce back from the last couple where he's looked a little bit disengaged, a little less aggressive than usual, a little less prone to hunting the rim for whatever reason in those games against Boston and Brooklyn over the weekend. He just kind of got back to the Scottie Barnes that's just been so damn effective all season long in this game. And I think the main pull away from him is just the shot chart. There was just no wasted energy from him in this game. If you look at the shot chart, for those who are listening, I have it on screen, but I'll describe it for you. It's pretty streamlined and simple. His first shot of the game was a wing 3 that missed. He hit one mid-ranger from the free throw line, and then everything else was in the restricted area. He just was hunting the rim all night long. And I thought this was a really impressive game. It just kind of summed up Scottie's value as an offensive player and the way that he can kind of poke and prod and wear down a defense into submission over the course of 48 minutes. This was, again, not like the prettiest game to start things out. The Heat threw some zone, junked things up a little bit. And I think Scottie, it was just such a really impressive example of his ability to just kind of chip away at what a defense is doing to him and eventually kind of break the dam and have it just that the floodwaters kind of rush out, right? He was asked to create from the middle and zone against zone a couple times, did capably there. The Raptors scored 0.89 points per possession on the 9 zone defense possessions they saw. Nothing great, but enough to get by and just sort of weather. And I thought the Heat were pretty aggressive in sending 2 to Scottie at times in this game as well, and his post-ups, things like that. We haven't seen a ton of teams really sell out to send extra attention Scottie's way this year. I think there's sort of a book out that he's going to pick apart your double teams pretty easily. So maybe it's not the wisest thing, and kind of turning him into a scorer is maybe the way to go and do it. And I think in this game, we saw that, right? They sent a few double teams his way, especially in the second half where he had this great closing kick in the final 24 minutes. They sent doubles his way in the post. He just very easily either identified them before they even came and just made the pass to reverse the play even before he saw 2 bodies. He just could kind of read where guys were. He had 1 assist to, I think, Jamison Battle on the far wing that was exactly like that. Not technically a double team, just a classic post up, single coverage. But he saw the help coming his way before they even realized what they were doing when the pass is going the other way, right? He just he's so early to identify these things. It's why he's such a brilliant passer. It's why he's such a fun playmaker. He has this sense of where guys are moving before they even know they're moving themselves. And that set up a couple of threes. There was a double team where, 2 guys just converged on him on the entry pass that Emmanuel quickly tossed him. And then he just kind of batted it right back to quickly hit his 1-3 of the night. It'd be nice to see quickly hit some threes again, by the way. 1 of 8 again. Not great, although I think a better game overall from him, just kind of floor game-wise. We can get into that maybe a little bit later on. But, with Scottie, I just think he was just so intentional about everything he did and knew exactly what the defense was trying to do to him and then countered with the right response to that. And we saw it in the sort of single coverage looks he got. Bam Adebayo kind of got crushed by Scottie in a few times in this game, in particular, late in this one. He just kind of gets the switch from Bam. It's kind of like a lazy, slow switch between him and the other guy who was guarding Scottie at the time. I can't remember who it was, but Bam switches onto Scottie. Scottie just completely dusts him off the bounce and dunks on his head. By the way, love to see that dunk. A bit of dunk justice after a dunk got wiped off the board by the officials calling a foul on the floor the previous possession for Scottie. Just like a really clean, tidy, I'm in total control of this game type game from Scottie Barnes. The Raptors in this game, and this wasn't just Scottie, there was some Ingram here as well. There was some Mamu post-ups that worked. But in this game, the Raptors just eviscerated the Heat out of post-ups per synergy. 1.769 points per possession on 13 post-ups in this game. Just like the Heat had no chance. It was either you send 2 to the ball and Scottie's picking you apart and they're hitting a 3, or you're sending only 1 going single coverage and Scottie's just kind of taking it to whoever's guarding him, whether it was Jaime Jaquez, whether it was Davion Mitchell, whether it was Bam. Just a really, really tidy effort from Scottie Barnes in this one, and nice to see him bounce back after a couple of rough ones. Also, he had 4 assists in this game. He probably should have had 9 or 10. Just the number of wide open looks that got bricked on direct passes from him. There was one where they're up against the 1-3-1 zone the Heat were throwing at them, I think in the second half, and Gradey Dick cuts baseline beautifully. Scottie hits him with a pass, and Gradey just kind of balks at the opportunity to shoot. He resets. He goes back to the corners. Exact same play. Gradey cuts and then gets fouled. And so Scottie doesn't get credit for the assist on those free throws. And there were a few other ones, just kind of duffed layups in traffic and things like that. But overall, just a wildly impressive game from a player who's been wildly impressive all season long. And if you were concerned about the 2 weekend games from Scottie, this should hopefully put to bed any of those concerns. Guys have bad nights. Guys have off nights. It's whatever. Scottie has been just so reliably excellent all year. Although slacking in the stocks department. No steals. No blocks. What are we doing here, Scottie? Get it together. You're slacking. It's okay. Collin Murray-Boyles filled in the gaps when it came to the stocks in this one. We will talk about Collin Murray-Boyles and the rest of the bench, who just kind of revealed that it does not need to be this bad or as bad as it's been for the Raptors reserves in this game, even with a terrible Gradey Dick game, which we'll talk about later on as well. The Raptors bench, very capable in this one, performed quite admirably. We're going to talk about Murray-Boyles, Jamison Battle, Jamal Shead, and also shed some light on Mamu, who's been just really, really good filling in as a starter. We'll do that coming up in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports, bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes in the NFL. It's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on the daily fantasy action. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks also add an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports schedule. All you got to do is create a lineup in minutes, and the app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. And their new really fun feature is stacks. So all you got to do is pick one player and then put together 3 stats in one lineup for that player. So it could be Scottie Barnes points plus rebounds plus steals. Take the more on all of them, and you might be making some scratch on those picks. So all you got to do is head to download the Prize Picks app today from your app store. Use the code LOCKEDINNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDINNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup with Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Today's show is brought to you by Doer. And look, we've all heard the wonderful holiday song Green Christmas by the Bare Naked Ladies. But have you heard about Jean Christmas? Yes. That's where we're going with this one. Doer jeans. I love them. They are the best pants I own. And I got the pair they sent me is like heavy in the rotation now. Really, really am happy with my Doers. I have the black fleece lined taper jeans. They are comfortable to go out and walk about if I want to go for a neighborhood stroll with my baby son. They're great if I need to go to a holiday party and look good. They are just so versatile, so comfortable, and the holidays are a great time to get in on the Doer experience because you can go and buy them as a gift for somebody or have someone else buy them as a gift for you. It's Christmas Eve. Maybe you're doing some last minute shopping. You can go check them out over at doer.ca. And if you use the code LOCKEDONTORONTO, you'll get 15% off your first order. Of course, it's not just on the internet. You can go in person to 44 Ossington Avenue as well and get yourself a pair of Doers and use that code at checkout, LOCKEDONTORONTO, and get the same 15% off as well. It's time for you to experience the comfort of Doer the way I have. I love them. You're going to love them too. Doer.ca/LockedOnToronto for 15% off. That's DUER.ca/LockedOnToronto or the store at 44 Ossington Avenue. Go get yourself some pants this Jean Christmas. Back at it here, talking Raptors Heat 112-91. The Raptors pick up the victory. It's a really, really nice thing to play a team you have the number of a bunch of times in the middle of the schedule when you're not playing so hot, apparently. By the way, you can go and check out the Locked On Raptors Everydayer Club. Please go do that. It's much appreciated when you support. $5 for the year, $50 for the month. Gets you ad-free episodes of the show, access to the Locked On Network Discord server. It's in addition to the free Locked On Raptors Discord server, by the way. That's not going anywhere. And you also get some other bonus perks, extra content, things like that. So go and check it out. LockedOnPodcast.com/everydayer or LockedOnRaptors.supercast.com to go and sign on up. You can also gift a subscription to a Locked On Raptors listener if you're in your life, if you're looking for a last-minute holiday gift. Okay, let's get into the bench, who were just awesome in this game. And I lump Sandro Mamukelashvili into the bench for the purposes of this conversation because when this team is healthy, when this team is fully operational, he's a bench player, and he's a very good bench player. And I think he's a sort of the starting off point for where you look at this team's depth and say, there's more here than has been given by this team in the second unit in particular over the last month, since things started to get a little grim when RJ Barrett went down. And maybe it's just as simple as RJ Barrett coming back, everyone falling down the pecking order a little bit, assuming their regular roles. Obviously, Jakob Poeltl didn't play last night. We'll see what's going on with the back. Very little in the way of clarity on when or if he's going to come back anytime soon. But I think the game against the Heat really showed off that like there is some stuff here working for the Raptors in their bench. And yeah, it requires some more reliable, consistent effort from some dudes, some guys actually doing like the production thing when they're on the floor as opposed to just doing cardio. Looking at you a little bit, Jacoby Walter, who, there's flashes there, right? Things can look good with Jacoby Walter. At times, they don't always look good with Jacoby Walter. But the point is, last night, I think we saw between Mamu and the starting five looking as good as he did, Jamison Battle coming in and finally hitting some threes. It'd be nice if he would just have like a nice 2 for 5 game from three, as opposed to it's always 3 for 3 or 0 for 3. But beggars can't be choosers at this point. He came in, he was awesome last night, played 15 minutes, was a plus 15, 11 points, and continues to do stuff outside of just 3-point shooting that is maybe going to get him on the floor a little bit more. Maybe should just get him on the floor full stop as a rotation piece going forward here. Again, hits the threes. He had a nice cut for a dunk. He had 2 steals as well. He's not a slouch defensively. I wouldn't say he's like a wing stopper, but he's someone who can get by and, just sort of provide an ample amount of resistance, or like a requisite amount of resistance, I guess is the right word there. As a wing defender, thought he was really good in this game. It was great to see him pop. Jamal Shead, I thought this was one of his tidier games in a while. More efficient, 2 or 3 from downtown. When those threes falls, it's just like a huge difference for him. But like he wasn't overextended, right? He wasn't asked to kind of carry the day for the offense in big spots. I think he did a good job of just sort of using his speed to plunge into the zone when the Heat threw it at them. Just pretty effective overall game from Jamal Shead. Nothing crazy, but I think the more sort of understated his games are, the better, frankly, for the Raptors and Jamal Shead. And then the main one here is Collin Murray-Boyles. Maybe his best game as a pro. He's had a few really good ones so far, so I don't want to necessarily put that label on it definitively. But, man, just like all over the place on both ends of the floor. 11 points, 12 boards, and the stock pot. He's rolling. He's boiling, indeed, with 3 steals and a block as well in this one for Collin Murray-Boyles. And I think, like, a few things stand out. The interior touch is very much a thing with him. Just like in traffic, through contact, taller guys around. He just has such a good handle on where to put the ball so it goes in the basket. He's not rushed. He's not putting up these sort of flimsy, soft finishes at the rim. He finishes strong. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's dexterous. He can use both hands. And I think that was very much on display in a couple of his buckets last night. Like he had this one like super deep catch on a seal, kind of under the basket and just like up off the rim, nice English, all that stuff. Like, again, basic stuff, but, compared to some of the other Raptors bench guys, as far as finishing at the rim goes, it was a really refreshing sight to see Collin Murray-Boyles just have that finish around the hoop. 12 rebounds, 9 of them offensive rebounds. And like, dude, just walking out there. Remember when you were a kid and you had those little Velcro pads where you'd throw the little tennis ball and catch it with the Velcro pad, proto baseball gloves if you're a child. He just has those Velcro pads as hands. It's crazy. Like, the ball goes up, he leaps, there's a few other bodies around, and it just sticks to his hands. He's a vacuum for rebounds and clearly plays above his size. Don't care that he's 6'7". The way he rebounds, the way he finishes in traffic, the way he protects the rim. I mean, we've seen some of the audacious blocks. He had one last week on Bam at the rim. I think he's just like doing a really good job of being that last line of defense when he needs to be. He's also just such a smart rotational defender. He's so anticipatory in, okay, what's coming next? Where's this possession going and where do I need to be? In particular, there were a couple of like long rebound, offensive rebound possessions last night where, those are the types of possessions that they're chaos, right? There's a scramble. You got to figure out, get to your guy, all that stuff. And Collin Murray-Boyles just seems to have a great handle of how that chaos is going to flow and knows exactly where he needs to step up to be, right? Okay, the ball's swinging over here. I'm going to go and, preemptively make this rotation so I can wall off this drive. Just like a really, really impressive next step ahead type of defender. Very much on display last night. You had 3 turnovers to 0 assists. There were clearly some reads he made that the pass just didn't kind of make its way through or whatever. Like, I'm so excited to see the emergence of the playmaking game from him as time goes on, because I think he's got a real head for it. I think he sees the floor extremely well. You can see that in the way he defends, right? Like, I do think we've seen this with Scottie Barnes as well. We've seen this with a lot of like great passers. If you're a great passer on offense, there's probably a good chance you are a great defensive player as well in terms of just like understanding and reading the floor. It's the inverse too, right? Like if you're a really good defensive player, I think that lends itself to being a next level playmaker if you have the passing chops. Obviously, not everyone is a great defender and kind of just like throw those passes at all angles, but to see the floor and kind of know exactly what's happening next, it's like a pretty special gift. And I think Collin Murray-Boyles very much has that in his bag, and I can't wait to see that get refined over time. 25 minutes played in this one too. Like I'm totally fine if Darko wants to play him more than 20 minutes a night. You know, it's been a little bit up and down as far as how much he's been relied upon these last couple of games for him. He's been like a real sort of tide turner when he's come into the game. And I'd like to see him just play 20, 25 minutes every single night because he's just that good. He's that effective. His defense is that impactful. Really impressive for a rookie. And also like the threes, like it's very low volume, but he's taking and making the threes that he needs to make to kind of keep himself on the floor, keep him at least sort of in the heads of defenses a little bit. That's great to see too. He's at like 45% from deep as a rookie. Again, teensy tiny volume, but every little bit counts. And yeah, like the steals, the anticipation, the hands that just kind of poke balls free. He's awesome. Really digging the Collin Murray-Boyles experience last night and over the last couple of games here as well. And again, this kind of all goes to this bench doesn't need to be so bad. They've been rough of late. There have been some real sort of fallow periods. You're seeing the bench come in and just the offense totally dry up, especially when there's no Brandon Ingram. But I do think like you get RJ Barrett back, even if you don't get Pirtle back right away. Like every new guy you add to the mix is going to knock everyone down a little bit in the pecking order. Ochai Agbaji, look, not great offensively still, but like I think he's defending maybe as well as he ever has in the NBA. At least with the Raptors. And I think there's like a ninth man in there somewhere to be found. And so if you have Murray-Boyles and Mamu as your sort of two key bench guys with Jamal Shead in hopefully not too overextended a role, and you have Agbaji kind of filling in as a capable ninth man here and there, or you have Jamison Battle capable of being your ninth man. You notice there's not someone I'm mentioning here. We're going to talk about him coming up in just a second, but like there are 9 or 10 guys here, even 11 if you factor in Jacoby Walter, or Gradey Dick. Maybe we'll see if he can get it back on track. It doesn't look like he's anywhere close to that right now, but like we saw it early in the season. The bench was a positive contributor. There was good stuff going on there. It doesn't need to be as miserable as it's been. And I think last night, again, they kind of told on themselves and said, yeah, like we can do stuff here. We can provide capable minutes alongside 1 and 2 starter lineups to get things by and sort of get this team through. And again, you know, you're not going to do it every single night. You'd like to see that be the case more, you know, as the season goes along, you know, the sort of ratcheting up of the consistency. It's the young player thing. It takes time to sort of refine these things and be able to do it night in, night out. But if we're seeing the early stages of that with Collin Murray-Boyles, that makes so much of the Raptors' lives easier when it comes to the bench, figuring out the lineups that make sense. And yeah, Mamu as a starter, a really just brilliant game from him. 14 points, 6 boards, 7 assists, the playmaking off the bounce, really fun stuff from him. The 3-point shot is falling again. And that leads into so much interesting stuff with him as a guy with that dribble drive game where he can put it on the deck. His head is always up. He's always looking for the next pass at the beautiful dump off to Scottie Barnes for a dunk last night. Yeah, the bench, like there's something here. It's not as bereft as it's looked over the last month. And last night against the Heat was proof of that. And hopefully they can kind of carry it forward. We'll come back on the other side and get into the good, the bad, and the from this game to round things out and send you off into the holidays. We'll do that coming up in just 1 sec. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. And during basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building, the energy, the crowd, the first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are going to really cost. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans an advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. And look, it's Christmas Eve. One of my favorite things to buy for people for the holidays is tickets to sporting events for teams that they love. And this is a great time if you're feeling like, oh God, we don't quite have enough for this person in my family or whatever. Game Time is a place to go and check out tickets for the games that they might want to go to in the future, whether it's a PWHL game, the Toronto Raptors, they're playing. They're in Hamilton this week. Can't wait for that. That's going to be tons of fun. You've got, of course, the Toronto Blue Jays. Their tickets are going on sale very soon, I believe. I think Friday. If you want to get tickets for the upcoming Jays season, they're going to be damn good. Of course, you have Raptors. You have Leafs. Do you want to go to the Leafs? Maybe not. But the WNBA is coming up. They're going to be here, barring a strike, in May. All those tickets will be available for you to go peruse over on Game Time. They have seat views, so you can see exactly what you're going to see from your seat before you buy. It's all great. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDNONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. Wrapping things up here on your Christmas Eve edition of Locked On Raptors as we run through the good, the bad, and the So we wrap up every single episode of this year's podcast on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. A thing I liked, a thing I didn't like, a thing that's got me a little intrigued from the latest in Toronto Raptors hoops. And the good, Darko Rajakovic had a quote after the game about Brandon Ingram. He was asked about coaching Brandon Ingram, what Ingram's brought to the team, and just like a nice little anecdote from in the game where he, in the fourth quarter, was about to bring Ingram back into the game, and Jamison Battle's on fire. He had just made another shot, and Ingram just says, "Coach, keep him in the game." Darko kind of just goes on to say, you don't see that very much. That's a very cool, special thing. Talked a lot about the leadership of Ingram and just sort of how easy he's made his job. But that's a cool thing. I think we get caught up in the losing of the last month, the sort of feeling that the early season winning was a bit of a mirage. But I think the team itself is in no way feeling dire about things. There's still very clearly like a harmonious, familial, good vibe within this team. And I think that Ingram anecdote from Darko is a pretty good example of that, right? Like there's no one like mad because they're not getting in to put up their numbers or to try to be the one who gets the team over the finish line. Like there's very much a one for all type of thing, or all for one type of thing. I don't know, Three Musketeers, blah, blah, blah. There's a sort of collective unity to what this team is doing still, even through the losing of the last month. And I genuinely think they're just going to kind of push through it and stabilize here. And look, they kind of have. Like they're 3-2 over the last 5 after being this sort of team of extremes early on. It hasn't looked great. There have been extremes within these 5 games for sure, where it's looked really good like last night or looked really horrible like it did against the Nets on Sunday. But I think all told, they do seem to be kind of finding a bit of a level here and just sort of evening out. And it's nice to see that the sort of internal dynamics of the team are still as strong as they seem to be, even when the winning was, even with the winning a little bit kind of in the rear view, at least that 13-1 stretch. The bad. What's Gradey Dick doing, man? I don't know. One of the more baffling first halves in particular of offensive basketball I've ever seen from Gradey Dick last night. Just like, frankly, looking like a dude who's one day from getting cut from his high school team. And I say this as someone who has been that dude before and has thrown that pass that Gradey threw early in this game in a transition opportunity where he just went like full head down into a bunch of Miami Heat dudes, tried to throw a pass to the wing, I think to Jacoby Walter, and the pass just went to the closest Heat guy to him directly into his hands. I don't know what's going on. There was also a drive where somehow Gradey tried to finger roll it and hit the bottom of the rim in the front. I don't know how that's possible. I think he knocked some dust off of the bottom of the rim, because who hits the front bottom of the rim ever? It's not really a thing that gets hit in an NBA game. It was just a really, really rough 12 minutes of action for Gradey Dick last night. And I don't think he's this bad, but he has been this bad of late. And I do wonder if it's just time to kind of put him on ice for a little bit. Just like, you know what? Jamison Battle's playing better now. He's just going to get those minutes now. And Gradey Dick becomes the break glass in case of emergency guy. Maybe that's the way to just kind of do it here. But yeah, the really discouraging stuff from Gradey this season, considering there's opportunity, right? First of all, the sort of the 6-man role in this team, the clear backup to RJ Barrett coming into the year seemed like a wide open competition between Gradey, Ochai, and Jacoby Walter. No one sees that opportunity. And then RJ goes out, and there's just clearly this like massive void within the team that needs to be filled by one of these shooting guard guys. And Gradey, I think, has been the least up to it of anybody. It's been really discouraging for a guy who, like, just a year ago was carrying an offense that wasn't a great offense by any means, but like was putting up reasonably efficient numbers with a pretty high usage, and the shot making was unbelievable. And that just seems to be gone right now. And I don't know how you get it back. I don't know what's happened. I know there's been talk about him changing his shooting mechanics. I feel like that's been a thing every year of his career, sort of analyzing his shooting mechanics. That's kind of beyond me. I don't know. Like, everyone's different. Everyone feels different with the ball in their hands. I'm not here to be a shot doctor and say his shot's bad, because I'm me and he is an NBA player. But I do think there is just like something in the water here with Gradey Dick right now that just like needs to be reset, refreshed, whatever, shot of chlorine, just maybe some time on the bench to just kind of reevaluate things. And maybe he gets one of those Jamison Battle like opportunities at a later date and can come in and impact a game in sort of a surprise way to kind of get things back on track. I don't know, but it's just not working the way it is going right now. And some just like truly puzzling stuff in that first half. And the most frustrating thing is, like, he's actually defending well. Like, he had 3 or 4 really good defensive possessions last night, I think 2 in a row, where he forced a turnover, made a big stand. Like, there's like good defensive work happening from Gradey Dick. He's sort of a master of that rotation to the corner to catch the skip pass to the waiting corner shooter. Like, he's been, I think, a passable defender, which makes the offensive drop off so much more frustrating, because this was all he ever had to do on defense to make his offense really sing. And now the offense is looking like his defense looked in his first couple seasons, and it's really tough stuff. So hopefully he can kind of find both ends of the floor at some point here. I'm not like totally out on Gradey Dick as a player or as an NBA prospect or whatever, but something's not right now, and I think he maybe just needs some time to not be part of these games, because he's actively hurting them more often than not when he's out there. Is it going to be impossible for the Raptors to fall below 6 in the Eastern Conference? Like, the teams below them kind of butt. I know the Cavs are ostensibly better, than they're 17-14. They've won a couple in a row, but like, the Raptors are 3-0 against them, and the Cavs have felt kind of noxious all season long. There's just something not right there. There's, rumors and scuttlebutt about Darius Garland. Does he want his own team to run and all this stuff? Like, it's a weird vibe over there for a team that feels maybe near the end of their line, just like with that specific core. And maybe something just has to change for them to kind of get back and sort of right the ship. Then you have the Hawks, who are playing awful right now. Trae Young's back, and guess what? Their defense stinks again. And they're like, Jalen Johnson just simply cannot save them. And Jalen Johnson is like maybe not impacting winning as much as his gaudy numbers might suggest that he is. That team's in rough shape. And then you have the Heat, who the Raptors clearly own. The Raptors are now 7-0, by the way, against the Heat, Hawks, and Cavs. So they have tiebreaker advantage over all these teams already. It's again, things can happen. It's a very jumbled Eastern Conference. It's probably going to stay that way. And maybe there's just never going to be separation between the 6 seed and above and the 7 seed and below. But right now it feels like I would take the Raptors over any of those teams right now, just in terms of like what I predict for this season. And it might just be impossible for them to fall out of the top 6, because those teams are just so butt. Maybe the Bulls make a run, but I also don't think that's going to be a thing either. They're in one of their little fake winning streaks right now. Good for them. They've only done it against the Cavs and the Hawks, who we just covered are kind of butt. And so I'm not sure I really believe this recent run from the Bulls either. So yeah, it just, this was the value of banking all those wins early on. You have that sort of insulation, that cushion between where you are and where those other teams are. And yeah, 18-13, 4th in the East now. Not the worst place to be for a team that's kind of been going through it for a month or so. And maybe they're on their way towards pulling themselves out of it. The Wizards coming up on Friday. That should be a win. The Warriors, they're in all kinds of disarray. They play them on Sunday. Really can't wait to look at that Magic game on Monday. That's going to be, I think, the most interesting and fun game of this next little stretch to kind of work as a bit of a measuring stick. I think the Raptors have measured themselves against the Heat pretty well, and it's pretty clear they're better right now. We'll see about the Magic. But yeah, we're going to leave it there and wrap things up for this week as we head into the holidays. Thank you so much for rocking with the show. Please follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend, all that good stuff. It's always appreciated when you support the show. However it is you choose to support the show. You can always join the Discord, link in the description of the podcast, 100% free to join. Great place to come talk ball among pals, even if we argue sometimes. It's a friendly kind of arguing, not the mean, awful kind you get on Twitter. Get off Twitter. now is the time to give you the gift. You give yourself the gift of no longer being on Twitter if you're still there. Come to join the Discord. It's a great place. And you can join the Everydayer Club, $5 a month, $50 for the year. Gets you ad-free episodes of the show every single day. That's a very cool thing to do as well. And we will leave it there. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful holiday, safe, happy, etc., etc. We'll talk to you again on Monday, as we'll have a couple of games to dig into. The Wizards game Friday, the Warriors game Sunday, looking ahead to the Magic game on Monday night as well, which I'll be at. Can't wait to get back in the arena for that one. That's going to be a great one. So, yeah, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Was hoping for a Christmas miracle, but I still stink.